Hello, everyone, and welcome to our monthly webinar. My name is Justin Cooper, and I am a hard money lender and full-time real estate investor. Each month, we bring in some of our friends in the industry to share their expertise. This may be through a presentation, like when we talk about self-directed IRAs or title insurance, or we may simply interview our expert friends and dive deep into how they got started, where their investing has taken them, and what they see coming, both for themselves and for the industry. Now, I want to say thank you to everyone who made it onto tonight's event. We know that you're giving up some of your time, so Dave and I will do everything we can to bring you the value that you're hoping for. Now, this webinar is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is Colorado and Minnesota's premier hard money lender. Pine focuses on the needs of Colorado and Minnesota real estate investors. We're investors ourselves, and we know what it takes to get deals closed. Everyone at Pine Financial Group is dedicated to the success of its clients. We only experience success when our clients are succeeding. So we have a habit of telling you when a deal should or should not be done. Isn't that what you want from a professional in the industry, especially someone that you trust as an advisor? You will benefit from our honesty and integrity when you choose to work with us. Now, tonight's webinar brings in a newer friend and investor, Dave Hughey. Dave is a beginning real estate investor from the Denver metro area who's also working full-time as an engineer for a local oil and gas company. After graduating from Marietta College in 2013, Dave and his college roommate Cameron owned and operated a small gym in Cleveland, Ohio for a few months before deciding it was best to pay off their student loans first and then continue with their business ventures. Dave has since partnered with Cameron in one rental property in Houston and is currently partnering with a coworker, Mike, on a flip in Evans, Colorado. Dave and Mike's goals include building a capital cushion with which they can begin investing into rentals for long-term financial independence. Dave, I've given our listeners just a little taste of who you are, but go ahead, tell us a little bit more before we dive into the interview.
Yeah, I don't quite remember everything you said at the beginning there, but yeah, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I went down to Marietta College after graduating high school. I went down there originally to play football, and they had a petroleum engineering program that I went into, and shortly, after graduating, I moved out here to join the oil patch. And now I live here with my girlfriend of 4 or 5 years now, and we have a black lab named Annie. We live here in Thornton.
Very good. So 4 or 5 years, is that important for her that you know how long?
Time flies. I really don't know how long it's been now. Don't really said that.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, let's jump back a little bit. Tell us how you got into real estate investing.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in the bio, I've always kind of had a fascination with owning my own business. I just think it's really important to own your own destiny, not rely on somebody else from paycheck. I think I get a lot of that from reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a lot of people get into real estate investing, and that really clicked with me after reading that book. And so then, as you mentioned, shortly after college, my roommate and I came up with this crazy scheme to open up a gym in Cleveland. Run that for a few months, and then try to step out and have somebody run it for us and have that cash flow. Realized it wasn't going to work out, so we shut it down, and he moved down to Houston, and I moved out here to Denver. And then shortly after that, he started getting into real estate. And about a year ago, in the middle of 2016, summer 2016, he reached out and asked if I wanted to get involved. He had an investment down there, rental property that another investor wanted to get out of. He wanted to sell it to pay for a pool for his wife or something like that. So we got it for a pretty good deal. So we were renting that out for about 6 months in a partnership again. And then here, the last 4 or 5 months or so, we've been trying to sell it. We finally had a buyer lined up, and then the hurricane hit.
Yeah.
I'm still not even sure if the place is standing. We think it's okay, but yeah, we've been able to get anybody over there to take a look at it. The roads are either still underwater to get there or completely trashed. So still waiting to hear back on that one. I might get a lesson working with FEMA here pretty soon.
Right, exactly. Yeah, finding out what an insurance claim looks like and then wrestling for, a contractor in a town where every single house needs some work done. So, yeah.
We didn't even have flood insurance on it. It was so far north and out of the floodplain. Never thought in a million years it could happen. And sure enough, all around there though, it's underwater. So
yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Well, good luck on that. That's crazy. Yeah. I've got some buddies who live down there, and luckily, the neighborhood that they're in was somehow just elevated enough that they didn't flood, but they're basically on an island now. They can't get out of their neighborhood. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a rough go for those folks down there, and it'll continue to be, and hopefully not too rough of a go for you and your investment down there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be an
So close
interesting
to the bottom of it
experience.
too. Yeah.
That's wild. Well, very good. So now I know you're just wrapping up your first fix and flip up here in Colorado now, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks that are listening that want to get into investing, right? And this is basically your second uh, real estate investment, your first fix and flip. So let's walk through that deal, kind of soup to nuts, right? Beginning to end. Is that all right? All right. So how did you find the property?
Yeah. So actually, Mike and I, my partner, we had been sending out mailers starting in March. We sent about 3 or 4 mailers, and actually never got anything back from that. But a realtor friend of ours had actually found the property. Once again, it was an investor who lived out of town. His tenant's lease had just ended, and the place wasn't in horrible shape, but he just didn't want to deal with it. It smelled like cat piss, or money, as you called it. So the realtor set us up, and we stepped in and made an offer and got under contract.
Very good. So how many offers did you make before this one hit?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we'd sent out about 3 or 4 mailers. I think it was 3 mailers to 1,800 addresses. We probably had conversations with 50 to 60 people.
Okay.
I made about 30 offers. Um, yeah, this is the first one that stuck then.
Gotcha. Um, so you had a list of 1,800 people. So did you hit that same 1,800 people 3 times, or did you split it up? And how did your mailers work?
Yeah, so that was one thing I learned from Cameron, was just keep mailing to the same people. They might not be ready to mail or to sell right away, but maybe something changes and they are ready. So yeah, we sent to the same 1,800 people 3 months in a row. Um, and they were all our strategy there was targeting high equity home occupied houses.
Gotcha.
Owner occupied.
Okay. So you hit 1,800 people 3 times. How many times did the phone actually ring?
So actually, we set up an account with Pat Live. So we had a secretary handle it
Okay.
for us. Just because we do have our day jobs, we're pretty busy with those. We didn't want to be taking phone calls throughout the day, but we did want to make sure someone was there to answer the phone.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, that first mailer we had probably 50 phone calls. So we were pleasantly surprised
Okay.
because Cameron just said he didn't really have great success with those first couple of mailers, and it steadily
Uh-huh.
grew. We actually saw the opposite, where we had 50 phone calls that first mailer, and then it kind of slowly tapered down to where
Yeah.
that mailer was probably 20 people.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very good. So where did you get the mailer? Did you come up with it yourself, or did you steal somebody else's copy, or how'd you come up with that?
We went on ListSource.
Uh-huh.
On ListSource, you can edit your query. And like I said, so we looked for 90% plus equity, owner occupied houses, um, and it generated a list for us. I think it was a couple $100. And then we sent that list to yellowletters.com, and
Okay.
they have a default letter that they can just copy and paste over the address on and the person's name, and they send it up for us. So,
Gotcha. So did you actually send out a letter, like a handwritten yellow letter, or did you do a postcard? Did you mix it
it
up?
looked handwritten, but yeah. So yellowletters.com, they printed off. It was blue ink on a yellow letter, and a handwritten font.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it had the addressee on it and their house address, and it basically just said, "Hey, I want to buy your house at so such and such address. Give me a call at this number." Like I said, it actually worked pretty well, so we were happy with it.
Awesome. Awesome. And so did you have a script ready for Pat Live, or did they simply get a phone number? Did you have a script ready when you called them back? What did that look like?
Yeah, so when they called the number, it would go to Pat Live, and then so with Pat Live, yeah, you could supply them with a script. So we spent a couple days kind of working through that. Just basically ask them a few basic questions. First thing was, what's your name and number? What's the property address? And then, why are you looking to sell? Because what we did find with that first mailer or two was a lot of people were not really looking for handouts, but they had received quite a few of these letters by now that we kind of wanted to screen out the folks that had become, immune to it and were just looking for really high offers.
Right.
So we were looking for the responses that said, hey, I'm moving here pretty soon, or I just want to downsize my house. Those were the ones that we really made sure to call back right away. Everybody else we got to at night.
Gotcha. So the folks that actually had some serious motivation to sell.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Gotcha. Great way to weed through all the phone calls. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so you would return them same day, if possible.
Yep. Yeah, we did in one of the many books I've read. There's a concept called a pre-mortem assessment. It's a take on a post-mortem. Like when someone dies and we go back and figure out what happened. We did a pre-mortem just after the first mailer, and we both decided that if this business fails, it's going to be because we're not calling people back fast enough. Because that first mailer, we did kind of take a couple of days getting around to everybody. So we really made an objective to call them back. Like I said, really motivate people within an hour. Everybody else we got to same day, but later on in the evening.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So you said you got a bunch of phone calls. How many offers did you actually make?
About 30. Everybody else. So of like the 60. So we had like 60 total conversations, 30 offers. The other 30 people were very blunt and would come out up front and say, I'm looking for more than I paid for this thing, a couple of years ago.
Right.
Yeah, we would make an offer, but it wasn't really anything serious.
Gotcha.
And after a few times we just said, obviously this isn't going to work. This isn't, we're not, you're not filling our niche, or however you want to say that. We have a certain niche target, and obviously this isn't going to work out. So.
Gotcha. So you weren't trying to force every single one that came along. You weren't trying to force it. You knew what you were looking for, and so if it didn't fit that criteria, whatever that may have been, then you would pass on it or something like that.
Yeah. Just had an honest conversation. This isn't going to work.
Gotcha. And so how did you come up with that criteria? What did that look like?
So again, it was just like in the first few sentences, or first few sentences in the conversation with somebody, you find out why they're looking to sell it, and if they didn't have those those red flags like, I'm looking for more money than I paid for this thing a year or two ago, or if they were saying moving out or looking to downsize, then we would go through the process of saying, okay, well, I'm going to go back, I'm going to run the numbers, and I'll call you back in an hour, and at that time we would put in the offer.
Gotcha. So
after we had to come back and crunch the numbers.
So what kind of criteria did you guys have? Obviously, the motivation was one level of criteria, but how did you know if you should be making an offer, or what that offer should look like, or did you read through the properties or anything like that?
Yeah. So once we knew that they were motivated, we'd go back to the computer. We told them to call them back in an hour. Actually look at the comps. And then, and I guess part of that too, we would ask the people, okay, are there any major repairs that you know of, just to kind of help get us closer to the ballpark? So we look at the comps, kind of try to guess the repair costs, and then take off a little bit extra from that for our profit. And then we call them back and we say, okay, here's my initial offer, but before it's final, we have to come out and take a look. And at that point, we would plan on, finalizing that estimate.
Okay.
You don't always know what shape the house is in, but we did want to at least, get our foot in the door as quickly as possible, just because so many people receive these letters and have these conversations. We didn't want to shut anything down too quickly.
Gotcha. Interesting. So you would, sight unseen, you would be making an offer. Interesting. So when you were coming up with the repair estimate, or that rough number that you were using, how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so the big things we were asking, which kind of shape is the roof in, how's the siding, how old's the carpet, and then from there we have I have a book, Estimating Rehab Costs by Jay Scott.
Okay.
We kind of use some general rules of thumb, and looking at Home Depot's website, just trying to get an idea. never actually done a flip in this area. We weren't entirely 100% certain on what our repair
Right.
costs would be. We knew we had to get this first one under our belt to kind of fine tune that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was basically our process there.
Okay. And so how big of a farm area did you have? So the list was 1,800 people. Was that just, I know the house you were doing was in Evans, Colorado. So were you just looking in northern Colorado, just in the Greeley Evans, the northern Front Range? How wide were you looking?
Yeah, so one thing we've kind of learned through bigger pocket podcasts or just talking to Cameron was just you got to really know your market. And Mike, my partner, is actually from Greeley, so we decided to target both zip codes in Greeley. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. And then Evans is a part of that too. So yeah, the two major zip codes up there in Greeley was our
Uh-huh.
market.
Okay, very good. So talk to me again about the property you guys actually got under contract. That did not come from those mailers, right? That was through networking, a friend of a friend type thing?
Yeah, that was through networking. We had met a realtor named Kathy. Honestly, I don't even remember where we met her now. It was probably been 6 or 7 months that we've known her now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she just she's a real estate agent in Greeley. She knew this guy who lived out of town and just wanted to get out, and we were the first persons to come to her mind. And she gave us a call, and we got out there same day and closed on it.
Gotcha. So was it her listing? Was it a pocket listing? Was it
Pocket.
um
Yeah, so it hadn't officially been listed yet. I think she was just having a conversation with this out of town investor, and
uh-huh.
said, hey, I know some guys who can help you out because he really didn't want to come back in town and clean it up and deal with it. So he was actually
Gotcha.
really grateful. He was actually really grateful that we were willing to step in and take it over. So that was a good feeling knowing that, because some of the times when you're having phone calls with people, that get them through the mailers kind of take offense to the to lower offers.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was really good to have somebody actually appreciate what we were trying to do. So that's cool.
Awesome. So how much time do you think you had between the different types of networking you were doing that obviously ultimately led to this deal going under contract, the mailers, the phone calls, setting up the Pat Live and all that stuff? How much time do you think you guys had invested in that?
Yeah. So Mike and I started getting serious about opening up a business probably in October of 2016.
Okay.
And so it was around then we started meeting on the weekends and we started putting together a game plan, finding, lining up list source, Pat Live. We took some time off for the holidays, and then come January, February, we hit it pretty hard again, kind of driving around really making sure we knew the areas. So yeah, I mean, October to June, I guess, is when we finally closed on this property. So it took
Okay.
8 months. Yeah.
So 8 months, but how much actual time, like per week, per day? Is this like a 4 hour, five? I mean, obviously you both have full-time jobs. So were you putting in 4 or 5 hours every evening? Was it, 4 hours every week? What did that kind of look like for you guys?
Yeah, when we don't have mailers out, it's really a weekend job for us. That was kind of our thought process is we didn't want to take away from our day jobs. This was
Uh-huh.
something. If it was, if financial independence is a 4-year program, we're on the 5-year plan. We're willing to take a little bit longer, but not ruin, not ruin our day jobs in the meantime and give up that earning potential. But so yeah, mailers are not. It's a weekend job,
Okay.
and then once we pick up mailers, it's probably 2 or 3 hours every night after work, just answering phone calls and calling people back, doing site visits, and that's 2 or 3 hours after work for about a week and a half straight. Uh,
Gotcha. Gotcha. When the mailer goes out, then the phone calls start trickling in. So then you're managing all that, calling
yep.
people back. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. And then between the actual mailers, how often did you mail? You hit the same list 3 times, right? You were working over 6, 8 months. How often were you mailing that list?
Yes, every 6 weeks, and that was more
Okay.
of a cost decision. We didn't want to send them out every month. Figured we start off with 6 and kind of fine tune from there.
Gotcha.
Seems to be a recommended frequency, almost once a month.
Gotcha. And were you using the same letter each time, or did you mix up the type of
Yeah.
direct mail?
Same letter. We didn't want to, like I said, we were really happy with the first response. Second response was a little less overwhelming, and then the third one, like I said, tapered off pretty good. So I think when we start the mailers again, we'll change it up a little bit. But yeah, we didn't see any reason to right away. We
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. So let's start diving more into the deal itself. So once the offer was accepted, what kind of diligence did you do? How did you analyze the deal? What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah. So
Or even maybe before it was accepted, once you got the word and, did you get into the property? Did you make the offer sight unseen like you had done on the mailers? What did that look like?
yeah. So actually, on this one, Mike went out there after work and he walked through it. He walked through it, kind of took some notes on what he thought, the work that was going to be required. Um, we looked at the comps, saw it was probably worth about 220. So we put an offer for 150, expecting about, excuse me, about 20,000 in rehab costs. And so, after holding costs and closing fees and seller's costs, we estimated we'd probably pocket 5 to 10,000 each, which for learning experience was pretty good for us.
Okay, fair enough. So what kind of analysis did you do? He walked the property, penciled out a scope of work. Was there a certain formula you guys had? Did you just pencil out all the different costs that you guys think? Was there a form, a template? Did you guys? I mean, you're both
Yeah.
engineers, so was there some big spreadsheet you guys used? What did that look like?
Yeah, we didn't want to kill ourselves with false accuracy. Like I said, without having actually done a flip in the area, we knew we were probably going to be a little bit off here or there. So we just looked at the big stuff, kind of estimated the cost to tear up carpet, put in laminate flooring, tile the bathrooms, redo the tub, replace the countertops. So we got a pretty ballpark number of 20,000.
Hmm.
And once we put that in and it was accepted, when we had it under contract, we actually took a contractor out there and walked through it. And we told him we were thinking 20. He said, yeah, it's kind of tight. Probably could do it for 22.5. So we were
Okay,
close. But yeah, we ended up signing a contract with a contractor where he would take care of everything. We'd pick out the materials. He'd go pick them up from Home Depot, and he'd keep it under 22.5.
gotcha. So, gotcha. So how did you choose your contractor? How many contractors did you have come out there? How did you find a contractor? What did that look like?
That was another networking thing. So we haven't talked too much about Mike, but Mike's from the Greeley area. He's born and raised there, so he knows everyone who lives there. That's how we found. We have a real estate agent who lives there. That's kind of a mentor to us as well. And I think his roommate's friend actually knew this contractor. So we met the contractor out on site, walked through it with him. He brought out two of his supervisors with him too, kind of walked through it. And then he took us out actually to a few other houses that he was rehabbing in the area, just to kind of show us his work and I guess kind of add some legitimacy to what he was telling us. And yeah, we were comfortable just after interviewing him. We've heard so many horror stories about contractors. We didn't want to. We thought we had a good one. We didn't want to deviate too far. So.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you only had one actually come out and give you a quote?
Yep, only one.
Gotcha, gotcha. And it was close enough to what you guys were expecting, and you seemed comfortable based on the work that he had shown you, right? The resume and things that were actually going on right now. So you locked him up, huh?
Yep, yep.
Gotcha,
Uh, but
gotcha. All right. We got a question here from one of the listeners. So going back to making that offer, how did you come up with that offer? So they're asking, like, was it a percentage of ARV that you used, or did you just pencil out all those? You had mentioned, the cost of rehab, you guys wanting a certain profit dollar, cost of this, cost to sell, those types of things. Did you just pencil it out, start at that ARV, and back out all those numbers to what you should offer, or how did you actually come up
yeah,
with that
yeah.
number price?
Basically, if you go online, you could find 100 different Excel spreadsheet calculators.
Uh-huh.
So we had one that we kind of liked. It was simple. But yeah, basically, the bottom line is, what kind of return do you want on your money? We were looking for about 15%, double what we can get in the stock market, hopefully.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so from there, just the ARV 220 minus repair costs, minus anticipated closing costs, which was just like a simple 1% of, um, final sales price and everything, 4% for realtors fees. And at the end of the day, then, yeah, the final number of 150 when split between the two of us, would have given us a rate of return of about 15% on our money. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
what we.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and so Pine Financial on our website has a couple different ways to analyze and work through the numbers. So you are right. You can find those things everywhere.
Yeah, I
So
haven't used yours yet. I apologize. I probably should have plugged that, but yeah,
no,
because
it's no problem. Yeah, so it's
we're
under
engineers.
just Pine
Yeah,
Financial Group. It's
yeah,
at
we're engineers. We love Excel.
pinefinancialgroup.com.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's there's so many different ways, right? I mean, really, what it comes down to is what are you, and your team comfortable with? How can I move fast enough? Just on our website, we've got at least two different ways. One is that percentage of ARV, right? In this case, 70% of ARV minus repairs. But then there's the other way where you just pencil out every different cost, right? Because different people look at numbers in different ways. Some are okay just kind of throwing something against the wall and using percentages, and other people actually want to plug all the numbers in. So, to each his own, and find out what works for you is really what it comes down to. I think the biggest thing that trips people up is they get so lost in analyzing it and how should I do this and which is right, and they use pencils when they're doing this. And the great thing about a pencil is it has an eraser, right? So you can put something in, you don't like that answer, you go and turn over the pencil and you erase it and you try it again. But ultimately, what are you doing, right? You're spending more time. And as you were alluding to, we don't have a lot of time, especially in Colorado's market, right? At least not right now, to go back and forth and what should we do and how should I do that? Because by the time you actually figure it out, you will have missed out. Somebody else will have made that offer. So yeah, ultimately it's just finding out what you're comfortable with, and then just getting out there and doing it. Well, looks like we're getting a lot of questions here. Awesome. So uh, you've got a partner on the deal, right? How did the two of you come together? How did you guys, I know you guys work together, but what did that actually look like coming together as the partnership? What were the discussions? What did you lay out there to define the partnership? What did that look like?
yeah. So as mentioned, I had that rental since summer of 2016, I think it was. So I really wanted to follow up on that, do something here on my own. Not rely on Cameron for the rest of my life to find me deals, and hope he throws me a bone. So I started kind of talking about it with guys at work. People who I knew were hardworking, smart guys, and also had cash burning a hole in their pocket. I just talked to them about that deal I did down there in Houston, just seeing if I sparked anyone's interest. And everybody likes the idea of investing in real estate, but when you actually it boils down to actually having to do some work and get involved, no one ever really followed through. And then one day, I heard Mike talking to somebody about he's got done building this deck and working on his house and whatnot. He was saying he's like if I could, I would do this kind of work for the rest of my life, as a full-time job. I said,
Okay.
that's probably the guy I want, because I knew he was hardworking too and he had a good reputation. I said, yeah, that's my guy. And sure enough, I talked to him about it, and I had his interest right away. And then the ultimate test I always tell people is, whenever I thought I had a candidate for a partner, go on Bigger Pockets, listen to a few podcasts, and just kind of introduce yourself to the world, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different ways to do deals. It's not all cut and dry, and Mike was the first guy to actually go back and listen to the podcast and actually start to learn up on it. And so shortly after that, like I said, winter of 2016, we met with a lawyer. He helped us kind of start our LLC, which was just a 50-50 partnership. Whenever there's an investment, we both put up 50% of our money, and whatever profits come back, we both earn 50%.
Gotcha.
And he helped us put together, like I said, he helped us register the LLC with the state, and then put together an operating agreement too. We kind of, we spent our time kind of building it out based off of the template, so we didn't have to spend too much for the lawyer. And then he looked through it at the end and made some adjustments, and that was how we created our operating agreement, which has come into play quite a bit. Whenever you want a loan or something like that, people do want to see that operating agreement. So if you are going to go the partnership path, make sure you do have everything spelled out, in that agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we see all the time. I mean, the operating agreement is really what gives the entity the power, right? And the asset protection, because otherwise, I mean, anybody can go register a name with the state, but actually acting like a business, having a business bank account, right? And not ordering your McDonald's and paying for Netflix through your business account, treating it like a business. And in treating it like a business, you have to have the right documentation, which, the first thing would be the operating agreement. So yeah, absolutely. Super important. And with what we do as hard money lenders, we see people all the time who have entities that don't have an operating agreement. So super important, and also relatively easy, right? I mean, you guys spent a little bit of time and basically built your own, and then had the lawyer double check, right? So you knew the types of questions, but you had an attorney come through and just say, okay, I'm bipartisan, you know, what do we do and how do we handle these different situations? And it's all spelled out, right? So if we want to get a loan, what do we do? If we make money, how do we split the profits? When there's change orders, right? How do we handle that? When there's capital calls, right? When we lose money, how do we split those things? And it's super important to do that up front, because when you are all friendly, right, and everything is going great, that's the time to work through what happens when things are bad. Because when things are bad, people don't want to talk as much. So having it all spelled out in that document is super important. I've had clients where the partnership went south and they weren't talking anymore. And so it was pretty easy to go back to this document and say, okay, well, I'm 51% owner, you're 49% owner, so I need to pony up a little bit extra when it comes to this, that, and the other thing. So yeah, super important and relatively easy, right? Probably didn't cost too much or time to really get that done, did it?
No, well, it's funny. So once again, yeah, if you Google it, you can find the operating agreement. And as mentioned before, Mike knows everybody in Greeley. So another family friend was a lawyer, so he actually helped us out. And I don't know, I don't think he ever actually charged us. I never actually saw the charge come. It probably only took 20 minutes to look through it, but but if he had charged us, yeah, it probably would have been $100 for his time or something like that.
Yeah,
So it doesn't
yeah.
have
I mean,
to get lawyer.
exactly. And in the bigger scheme of things, right, it's relatively inexpensive, right, for all the potential benefits that it could give you. So talking about partnerships and stuff, and you had mentioned, 50-50 partners. Question: how did you? Where was it? Where was that question? Where did you get the startup capital, and how did they finance the buy?
Yeah. Okay. So startup capital. I do work as an engineer in the oil and gas industry, so we are compensated fairly well. So just saving our money the last couple of years. Like I said, a lot of guys at work just have cash burning a hole in their pocket, and I was one of them. Once I got my loans paid off, I didn't go spending it on fancy vacations and cars or whatnot. So yeah, just saving up some cash. And then to finance the deal, yeah, just did it through Pine Financial. They require 10% down. Come out, take Justin walks through the property, make sure he's comfortable with the deal, and from there, yeah, it's just the monthly. We had the closing costs too, but then yeah, just the monthly payments, which on this property is $1,600 a month, so it's nothing horrible.
Yeah,
Split between people again. It's another advantage of a partnership, and that's why I would advocate it too. Is you have two guys saving up their money. It's a lot easier to get that first down payment. And, do a few deals, build up some capital, and then if you want to branch off, you can on your own. But yeah, having some partners that have some cash too definitely helps.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? You focused on yourself and getting your house in order. Everybody has a slightly different approach, but you had some debts, you wanted to get them cleared off, so you focus on that. And then, I mean, there's 800 billion different ways to do it, but when you get rid of these debts, these monthly expenses, now your cash flow goes up, right? So now potentially you're saving even more money each month, right? You save that up a little bit, and then you get to a point and you're ready to pull the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So whether you or you and your partner or whoever it is says, okay, here's the thresholds. When we hit this amount saved, this is when we're going to do X or Y or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, it's that easy. Yeah, and then, you didn't have enough to pay all cash, so you went out and you got a hard money loan, right? And you came to us, which is great. It's obviously how we know each other. And you went with our acquisition loan, right? So we loaned 90% of the purchase price, so you had 10% down. And then the repairs, relatively small budget, right? About 22,000, and you guys had the money saved up for that. So you guys handle all the repairs out of pocket yourselves and manage the contractor and stuff. So
And that's
actually,
not, and you don't have to do that, right? Because what's the other loan that you have where, if you do a little bit more due diligence and you have your scope of work built out, you guys will loan up to 100% of the ARVs, isn't that correct?
Not 100% of the ARV, no.
No.
But we'll loan up to 70% of the after repair value and potentially 100% of costs. Yeah, so purchase and repairs and closing costs. Yeah, up to 70% of the after repair value. Because if I loaned 100% of the ARV, right, then there's no profit for you, right? So that's where
Yeah.
that 70%, right? That's where the percentages come in. The other side, that 30%, that's part of where closing costs to sell, your holding costs, and your profit would be. So jumping back to the scope of work, somebody has a question. Did you have to get a very detailed scope of work to the contractor to avoid any change addendums and added costs during the rehab?
Yeah, so yeah, we actually did. We spelled out. So after walking through it with he said, okay, it's going to cost $22,500, and that was just based off of his experience. But yeah, to cover ourselves, we wrote out every single item that we wanted them to cover. Minus like the little things like outlet covers or whatnot. We didn't bother with. But yeah, we spelled out everything. This is what we want done in this room. In bedroom one, we want this flooring, we want this paint, we want this closet added. In the kitchen, we want the countertops replaced, we want appliances replaced. So yeah, we had everything in kind of a contract, and we had him sign it as well. But we did end up actually having a few additional costs along the way, because despite spelling everything out and even drawing a picture and posting it on the wall right there when you walked in, the contractors, one of the supervisors, we think he just kind of rushed it, maybe trying to look good, get the job done fast and under cost. He on one of the rooms in the basement. So the basement of this house had two utility rooms that we wanted to convert into bedrooms. So we had to add two closets, and they had closets in one of the bedrooms and didn't do it in the other, just because it was going to require some electrical work. So rather than giving us a call and kind of consulting us on it, they went ahead and drywalled the basement, painted it and everything. And when we went to go check on the house, I don't know, about a week later, we noticed the closet wasn't there. It was one of the rooms, but not the other. So we had a conversation with the contractor about consulting us before making these kinds of decisions. And a few other things have come up, like in the kitchen. Once they tore up the old vinyl, we saw that there was there was a layer of OSB down, but it wasn't uniform. So they put down the laminate and they put in this awkward strip in the middle of the kitchen. So there's another decision that the contractor made without consulting us. So we asked him to tear it all up, and we had to pay him to put down OSB to do it right, throughout the rest of the living room and whatnot. So there definitely was additional hidden costs, but a lot of them were self-inflicted by the contractor, just kind of cutting corners, not consulting us. And he did fix most of his mistakes on his own, but those that we discovered after the fact, like the OSB unevenness throughout the main floor, we paid for. We were fine with that.
Gotcha. So that 22.5 number, that originally had materials and labor, correct? That was all in.
Yep, that was
Gotcha.
all in.
Gotcha. So
So
go ahead.
you want to know what the current number is?
You feel free if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah. So after fixing the OSB, we had him come out and do an inspection on the closets in the basement to make sure it got appraised as a 4-bedroom house. Count those 2 bedrooms. They found some electrical issues, so they had to redo some of the wiring in the breaker box. So now we're up to like 30,000. Definitely bloomed a little bit. I guess we weren't too surprised. And then we also decided to landscape the front yard, so that was a little bit of extra, just to make it look nice. So yeah, we went from 22.5 up to 30,000.
Okay.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
So not a huge thing. How was it working with the contractor, working through these different hiccups and having these conversations? Was it easy? Was it difficult? What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, from the get-go, Mike and I decided that we wanted to do things right. We weren't gonna, cut corners. Like with the bedrooms in the basement, we wanted the closets. We wanted to list it as a 4-bedroom. We wanted to get a county assessor out there to take a look and everything. The contractor we were working with, I think a lot of these other houses, they cut corners, flip them quick, and then rent them out. Or flip them quick or rent them out. Probably rent them out more often than not, so you can cut a few corners. Unfortunately, again, when it comes to picking your partner, Mike's pretty stubborn. So he had no problem, calling up the contractor and just saying, hey, we had an agreement. I have the signed contract. We need you to fix this. After a few phone calls, they worked it out, and I don't think there was any bad blood. The contractor's probably not going to make a whole lot of money on the deal anymore. Maybe that hurts our relationship down the road. Maybe we can't do another deal together. But yeah, we just going back to that contract, listing out every single thing that you want them to do and holding them to it. That was a big saver for us because we said, hey, right here, you signed saying that you were going to put in 2 closets in the basement. What happened?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a key learning there.
Great. So you would like to work with a contractor again in the future?
Yeah, like I said, I think maybe his business has expanded a little bit too quickly. Now he's got, 3 or 4 supervisors, foremen out there that are actually watching job sites. And it wasn't necessarily the general contractor's fault. It was just kind of the guy working for him.
Right.
And so the contractor was reasonable. He's upset that he was going to lose a bit of money, kind of try to talk us out of, some of the things we wanted him to do to fix it. But overall, he was a good guy. We like the work he's done. So yeah, we are going to ask and see if he wants to work with us on the next job. We kind of worked the growing pains now. It can't get any worse. So yeah, if he's willing to work with us, maybe I said too soon, but like I said, he understands where we're coming from now, and we've learned that we kind of need to just trust that he knows what he's doing, but also verify that they're doing what needs to be done. So like I said, I think we've worked through most of the growing pains, and yeah, we want to work with him again if he'll
Gotcha.
work with us.
Gotcha. So I think that was something pretty good that you said there. So verifying stuff. So do you think you were on site enough? Do you think if you were on site more often, that would have alleviated some stuff? And how often were you on site, looking at those things and getting eyes on the property?
Yeah, we were out there, every week, at least every other week, almost every week. When we're walking through, a lot of stuff's torn down and they're just starting to put stuff in. You don't really notice anything, so like in the basements, it doesn't take very long to put in a closet. So one day we're out there and they're like, okay, yeah, we're getting ready to put in the bedrooms, and we come out next weekend and the bedrooms are done. It's all drywalled and there's no closet. So unless we're going to go out there daily, there's really not a whole lot you can do in some of those situations. But yeah, definitely weekly, I think, is a good frequency to be out there.
Gotcha. And on a 22,000 or what ideally would have been a $20,000 budget, how long did you think it was going to take, and then how long did it actually take?
Yeah, so as part of the contract, well, it wasn't explicitly written in the contract, but the contractor said he could probably get it done, in 30 days. When we ran our initial numbers for the rehab, we budgeted for 3 months, which I'm glad he did because that's where we're ending up. We're still waiting for the final inspection to happen on the wiring, and then they can come out there and probably wrap everything up by the end of this week or next week.
Gotcha.
By the time we're done selling it, yeah, we'll probably be pretty close to 3 months.
Okay.
Definitely
And
three payments to Pine Financial. So
gotcha. Fair enough. So the market in Colorado is super hot. So you originally thought it would be worth 220. Is that still the number you're going to shoot for, or what do you think you're going to list it for once it's all done?
yeah, and I think that helped a lot when we were working with the contractor. If we still thought the house was going to sell for 225 and we had all these additional expenses and like the OSB in the kitchen and whatnot, I think we might have been a little bit more stressed and maybe things wouldn't have gone very smoothly. But a comp did come in about 3 weeks into the rehab that boosted the price from 220 to 255. It was the exact same house, a bi-level, same number of square feet, just around the corner. And it was conventionally financed. We're pretty confident that that's what our house will sell for. If we can get done, quick enough. Like I said, the market's pretty hot, but there is a selling season, and I don't think we missed it, but that might hurt us a little bit.
Yep. The kids are back at school now, right? So families might be a little hesitant to move. So, yeah, but at the same time, at least in Colorado, and each little submarket in Colorado is obviously a little different, but in Colorado, there's such a lack of inventory that I don't know if it would really hurt you, but time will tell. When you put it on the market, do you get an offer that first weekend, or does it sit there and wait a little bit longer? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things. You can look back and say, well, it should do this. Then you list it and just kind of keep those fingers crossed and see how soon something hits.
Yeah,
So
so it's either end up being we break even, or we walk away with a little bit of cash in our pocket. So worst case scenario is a good learning experience. We're not going to lose money on it for sure.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, good first flip though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, you guys got into it and you penciled it out and you saw yourselves making money and you knew that there'd be some things that would move and potentially change, but because you had penciled it out, expecting to make a certain amount, then yeah, when these hiccups and it took a little bit longer, I mean, I guess as long as you guys thought it would, but longer than the contractor thought, and that's important, right? That there is a difference between what you think and what the contractor says, right?
Yeah,
Don't always believe the timeline that the contractor may say. Um, so there's maybe some extra holding time and then also some the change orders and some other things. So starting out with enough profit to then absorb all these changes and still be profitable, I think is super important. And then there's the upside of being in a super hot market at a super hot time, putting out what I assume is going to be a great product. Your ARV can go up, right? But never not banking on the ARV going up, I think is super important because the markets change all the time, whether it's the seasonality or just the next downturn or whatever it may be hits. So planning as best you can up front, I think is
yeah.
super important. You guys definitely did that. So back to the partnership here. What do you guys think? Are you guys gonna, after this deal ends, you're gonna stay in a partnership and do another deal together?
Yeah. So I can't speak for Mike. He's off on vacation right now. But yeah, I really enjoy the partnership business model just because you know doing a flip, especially your first time on your own, it's pretty stressful. So it's nice to have someone who you can kind of bounce ideas off of. They're assuming 50% of the risk. Like I say, you're only going to get half of the profit, but if you know you're going to be on the 5-year plan, it's not a big deal. Building out the business, getting the process in place is probably more important than early profits. So yeah, like I said, I still have that partnership with Cameron down there in Houston in that property. It's nice knowing he's down there and keep eyes on the house. With Mike up in Greeley, it's reassuring knowing that if I can't make it, odds are he can make it out there to meet someone, and vice versa. So I'm really happy with the way things have been going. I think we have unique skill sets that kind of complement each other. Um, so yeah, I definitely see us continuing to do this for quite a while. And like I said, I would recommend partnership just because it does make things easier when you're venturing off into something new like this.
Yeah, I think you just made a great point that you have complementary skill sets, right? Whether it be just the location of where you guys are, or the how much time you have and the ability to get out there, or Mike may be better at just jumping on the, or at least more willing to jump on the call with the contractors or whatever it is. If you both have the same skill sets, then the skills you don't have, well, neither does your partner. So making sure that on several levels, like what you were saying when you were talking to Mike and first overheard Mike. You both have a similar vision with what you're wanting to do and the drive and interests. You have complementary skill sets, all very important to having a good partnership, right? And then open communication. If you guys are talking all the time, also very important. I've
It's just
seen
like a marriage. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, you absolutely have to communicate. Make sure you know where what your goals are, and don't, if you have an issue, don't keep it quiet. Just bring it up. So.
Exactly, absolutely. So were there any pleasant surprises that happened on this deal?
No, other than are there ever pleasant surprises on a real estate deal? Um, other than that comp coming in and kind of saving our butts, so we don't break even or lose money. I think yeah, that was it. Just that comp coming in and helping us out. That was nice.
Gotcha, very good. So what was one clear lesson that you learned from this project?
So I mentioned it before. Definitely trust but verify. You'll drive yourself crazy. You'll probably drive the contractor crazy if you're out there every day, or if you're calling him every day trying to figure out what he's doing. At some point you kind of got to loosen up. But definitely, I think weekly visits or phone calls are well within the realm of reasonableness. So yeah, just making sure the guys are doing what they're saying they're going to do and get eyes on.
Absolutely, I like it. So, what vision do you have for the future, both personally and in general about real estate?
Yeah. so so again, like you said, Mike and I have pretty similar goals. I think we just want to do a few more flips, build up a little bit more capital so that, 'cause right now we're both pretty cash strapped. If anything else went wrong with this house, we'd probably be taking out, second mortgages or something to help pay for it. But so we want to build a little bit of capital so we're not as uncomfortable. But then from there, once we do our rehabs, just renting the properties out, building cash flow that way. I think we're happy with the Greeley area. It's growing, property values are increasing, and it's still reasonably priced, right? For your first flip, like I said, we got in the house for 150, 10% down was only 15 grand, so that was perfect for us. I don't think we could have afforded much more than that. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's certainly affordable, and it's close enough for anybody, living in Denver or something like that. It's close enough to get up there. Certainly, if you're only going to get up there once a week, even if you're up there twice a week, monitoring your contractor, it's certainly close enough. And it is a great first-time home buyer kind of price point, whether a first-time investor or a homeowner. So I agree with that. Very good. So regarding partnerships, do you think you're going to continue to just do partnerships, or are you interested in doing any projects on your own?
yeah, I'll do partnerships. Being for as long as I can. Being in the oil industry, sometimes we get moved around. So like right now, Colorado's a hot spot, and before long we'll end up in West Texas. So I have to prepare to move and be on my own again. At that time, I think hopefully I have enough experience here that I'm comfortable doing something on my own. And if not, I'll just find somebody down there that I'm working with and see if they want to do it. I actually already have one or two guys in mind. If I do move down to the Texas office,
Okay,
so I'm always looking for that next partner. Because I
gotcha.
think it's a great business model.
Gotcha. All right, very good. So we're going to start winding down. I got just a couple questions left for you. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Um, yeah, so I was thinking about this. Best advice I ever got probably wasn't verbal. It was just probably observing Cameron. Like so, we both came from the same starting place. He went down there to Houston, and within two or 3 years, he's up to 15 rental properties now, and that's with the same line of work. He's working 8 9 hours a day, just like everybody else. But when he goes home from work, he just hustles. Because I think that's just great advice. Is just hustle, and don't make excuses. Right. I think for the longest time I was just paralyzed by fear of just getting started in real estate, and I think that's why I was looking for a partner, just someone to kind of help alleviate that fear. But I knew all along, just making excuses, just get started, and if you have to, if you know yourself well enough that you need a partner, just grab a partner and get after it, but don't make excuses for too long.
Yeah. So what was that fear that was holding you back? Fear of what?
I Yeah, I don't know. It's a good one. I don't know if it's necessarily the financial fears. I think it's just if you start putting in more and more time, does it start detracting from your day job, and then you piss off your boss, and next thing you know, you're out of a job, and you have no income and you can't get any loans. I think that probably has something to do with it. And then just like I said, time commitment after work. Sometimes if you are on your own, that's twice as many phone calls you got to make. That's twice as many site visits you got to make, and I really didn't want to detract too much from my family life. I want to have some sort of personal life. Like I said, Cameron down there hustling. I don't think he's got much of a personal life, or he did, and I think he's doing pretty well now. He kind of made it through, but yeah, I just didn't really want to go through that. I kind of wanted to just take it slow, 5-year plan.
Gotcha, gotcha. So now that you've taken action and you've done the mailers and you made the phone calls, and is that fear still present for you, or was it
No,
quickly
no,
realized that it was unfounded?
unfounded, absolutely unfounded, and it's just like most things in life. You sit there and think about it, run the numbers 20 times, but you just got to do it eventually. You're going to take some licks and just keep working through it. So, like I said, I'm
Absolutely.
very happy we did this. The only fear I have now is finding the next deal. It's just the mailers. They didn't work too well for us. We did find this deal through a network, through networking, but yeah, just finding the next deal. That's my biggest fear now.
Yeah, yeah. But the great thing is you're not. unemployed or self-employed or full-time, I mean, if it takes a couple months, then it takes a couple months, right? You still got the day job. And so, um, do you have any plans to go full-time? Maybe
In
part
real
of that
estate.
five-year plan? Yeah, in real estate.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Like, I enjoy what I'm doing at work. I'm working, like on the data science team, and deal with machine learning. So it's really, really cool, cutting edge stuff. So I have no desire to leave in the immediate future. I'm sure down the road, though, I will want to step out and try something new in life. Maybe I try to open a new gym or something like that. I know I'm going to need some cash to do that. So, in the meantime, just keep real estate investing, and maybe I do go full time in real estate, but maybe I can use that cash for something else, right? Like opening that gym, or who knows.
Gotcha. Awesome. Awesome. Can you share one of your personal habits that you believe contributed to your success or continues to contribute?
Yep. I think staying organized. So I use, and this kind of ties in, I guess, to another question you might ask me about an app that I really like, or a
Okay.
resource. So I use an app called Wunderlist,
Uh-huh.
and you can create lists in there, and you can categorize them, based on like what you have to do at work and what you have to do at home. There's a book that kind of goes along with that. I'd have to look it up, but it just teaches you how to how to generate lists, offload your mind. Because if you're always trying to keep stuff, remember, if you're always trying to remember stuff, you're going to forget more than you do actually remember, and a lot of it's probably valuable. So I think that habit would be just writing stuff down in an organized format, and I use Wunderlist for that. It's been really helpful, and you can set
Gotcha.
reminders. If you have to do something every month, you can have it flag you, say, "Hey, it's time to do this." So that's
Okay.
that's been really helpful.
Great. And how do you spell that?
Wunder list, one word.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
Wunderlist, but with a U.
Gotcha. Perfect. So looking back, what advice would you give yourself when you were just starting out?
Um, um, So I think with the rehab costs, we probably kind of rushed through that a little bit much. I know one thing we kind of botched was like the selling real estate agent fees. We underestimated how much that was going to be.
Hmm.
So I think the advice would be just kind of don't spend too much time on the numbers, but actually make sure you understand where all the numbers are coming from on your spreadsheet, so that you don't put yourself in that bad position again. So
Gotcha. Perfect. So if you could recommend one book for our listeners, what would it be?
yeah, so actually I have it here. It's called The One Thing.
Uh-huh.
It's by Gary Keller. And I can't remember exactly everything that the book goes through. It seems kind of long for what I got away from it, what I got from it. But basically, it comes down to the concept of when you wake up in the morning, think about what's that one thing, whether it's at your job, in your personal relationship, in real estate investing, that's going to advance it. And what's the most important thing in those three things that's going to advance it? So like real estate investing, if you're just starting out, what's the one thing that you need to do now to move your plan forward? If it's just going to talk to a lawyer, or just pulling that mailing list, or listening to that podcast, just make sure you know what that top priority is. Like I said, I apply that to my day job all the time. What's the one thing I need to get done today? It's going to make my boss happy. It's going to add value. Like I said, it's really good. It's a really good rule of thumb that I use every day.
Awesome. Very good. Well, Dave, I've truly enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories you shared. Give us one parting piece of guidance and share the best way we can get a hold of you if you don't mind, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. So best piece of or best guidance would be kind of what I was talking about before. Just don't make excuses. You just gotta, at some point you gotta realize that your fate's in your hands. You gotta take action. So if you are looking at getting started in real estate investing, like I was not too long ago, just know yourself, know what you got to do to get started, and find a way to overcome that hurdle. Like I said, for me, it was just finding a partner to kind of help share that risk, and hope maybe that'll work out for some of you as well. Um, Yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, like I said, I'm always looking for that next deal. So if you have one, please do reach out. Or if you just want to pick my brain, my email is actually dave@denalihb.com. It's DENALIHB.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions or whatnot. Like I said, I definitely think, just like Cameron kind of reached out and helped me with the deal, if something I could do to help you guys out too, let me know. I definitely need to pay it forward. So,
Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you for being so generous with your time and your experiences. Appreciate having you on, and we'll see you soon.
yeah, thanks, Justin. This was fun.
All right, great. Thank you.